there, friends! Welcome to today's episode of r/Am I the Asshole? Make sure you share your thoughts and opinions on the stories in the comments below, because I would really love to hear what you guys think, and also because the comments today are super divided on some of the stories. Let's get right into it! Okie dokie, artichoke. Our first story today comes from illwallaby3038, who asks, am I the asshole for saying I didn't want to plan my friend's birthday after not being invited to her wedding? Throwaway account. Okay, so I first met my friend Jane, female 29, studying abroad. We were really good friends during their travels, and after college we actively stayed in touch, visiting each other in our respective different cities. I met her boyfriend Bob, now husband, when they first started dating, and I've met her college friends and parents. Bob and Jane decided to move to my city right before COVID, so during lockdown we were in each other's bubbles. We've celebrated each other's birthdays, we've had Friendsgiving, Christmas parties together, etc. 2021, Bob and Jane got engaged in August, and when they came back I threw them an engagement party. I bought her this wine glass that said wedding planning wine glass, and every time she used it, she would text me a photo of her with it. In 2022, I threw Bob a 30th birthday party, but then this was also the first year I wasn't invited to her birthday. I had texted Bob asking what the plan was, and he told me that they were going out of state for her birthday. However, on Instagram, I saw them posting pictures of them renting a cabin with some friends, so I felt awkward. Then, I wasn't invited to the bachelorette party. I didn't find this too big of a deal because Jane has some really close childhood friends and sorority friends, but then nothing about the wedding. The wedding happened this May, and it was a big wedding, like 200 people probably, and I wasn't invited. I was really hurt to say the least, but I didn't say anything. I just tried to move on. I haven't talked to them really since before the wedding. They didn't wish me a happy birthday, and they couldn't attend my birthday shindig because they were out of town. I'm noticing that if I don't reach out to either of them, they don't reach out to me at all. Now Bob has reached out and asked me to plan Jane's birthday party because he says I'm the best at planning these things. And I told him I was hurt about not being invited, and he said, well, we had limited space. Don't make it a big deal. We want you at her birthday. I really don't want to do it, and I don't really feel any desire to be friends with them. Am I being a petty asshole? Now with this story, let's go straight to the comments. Angry XSX says, not the asshole. They froze you out and then made absolutely no effort to reach out until now. When they want something from you, time is valuable. Spend yours with the people whose actions show they want to spend it with you. It appears to be clear that they do not. Misty Madeline says, not the asshole. Sorry to say this, but they're not your friends. If you do decide to plan Jane's birthday, make sure you tell her what your fees are. May as well try to make some money for your service. And lastly, Practical Cat 50 says, not the asshole. Bob and Jane are thoughtless, careless people with friendships. The don't make it a big deal was the icing on the cake. I'd move them to people I know status versus friend status. Yeah, I'd say OP, drop these friends. They clearly don't value you and your friendship. Not the asshole. I'm sorry, OP. Our next story comes from user LifeExperience3920, who asks, am I the asshole for asking my daughter-in-law to cook smaller amounts of food? Throwaway account for privacy reasons. I, 67 female, have a son, 39 male, who is married to his wife, 39 female, for almost 7 years, and they have a 3-year-old daughter together. I noticed over the years that my daughter-in-law cooks more food than they need, and when I asked her about it in the past, she said that she packs lunches the next day for her and my son the next day, but it still did not make sense to me. Anyway, I noticed time after time that she does not limit the amount of food portions either for my son or their daughter. Everyone is free to ask for as much food as they want, so I decided to confront her out of concerns about my son's health and also my granddaughter. She got incredibly annoyed and said my son is a grown man, and if he wishes to eat less, he can do that without her having to mom him around. As for his daughter, she says she's a toddler and one day she barely eats and the next day she asks for more, and that is normal. To that I argued that I always had a specific amount of food for everyone, and that went well. She then had the audacity to say maybe that is why my son eats so fast, as if the food is running away, and then she started with that crap that her food is always healthy, and that it is wrong to control what other people eat, and that my granddaughter and my son are actually both at healthy weight. But that is not really my point. She should not let my granddaughter grow up to be greedy with food. Anyway, now she is mad and saying that if I cannot keep my comments in my brain, I will not be welcome in their home, and manage to turn my son and my husband against me. So, am I the asshole here? I really do not think so, but she does. Yikers. I think Honey Smiles does exactly what I was thinking. You don't believe in leftovers? You're the asshole. Yeah, and then another commenter, hardcandy8923, left a very true and very informed comment, which says, "You're the asshole, ma'am. Why are you concerning yourself with what other people eat? You don't have a right to control your son, his wife, or your granddaughter. Also, your daughter-in-law is right. Food deprivation, both in cases of true food insecurity and in cases where the child's mother had restrictive feeding practices at a young age, have been linked not only to developmental issues, but to obesity, up to 5 times greater chances of it. This is because children learn to feel that they aren't going to be fed enough, and this leads to problematic eating patterns like the insurance hypothesis, where you eat even when you aren't hungry because you worry that you may not be able to eat when you are hungry. Please see the full study here. And please also apologize to your son and daughter-in-law. If anyone is interested, the article Hard Candy mentions is called Relationship Between Food Insecurity, Child Weight Status, and Parent-Reported Child Eating and Snacking Behavior. It was published in 2017, and the researchers are Kroll, Chitums, and Moore. I think these comments are really right, and honestly, I have to say, I used to work in childcare, so children are super, super fickle. One day they will be constantly hungry, they'll want to eat every other minute, and they'll be constantly snacking, and then other days you won't get them to eat a single grape or a single raisin or not even a single cracker. So letting the daughter eat as much as she wants is actually really good. You're the asshole, OP. Your daughter-in-law is doing great. Alright friends, our next story comes from user last name drama, who says, "Am I the asshole for taking my future wife's last name? My fiancée Nicole, 25 female, and I, 24 male, are engaged and are getting married this October. She has a very interesting Nordic last name, and she was clear from the get-go that she wants to keep her last name. She has a very close special bond with her parents, and she's one of the last in her family to have her last name. There's only one man in their family with the last name, and he's proudly child-free. I have a rocky relationship with my parents. I don't want to say anything bad about them because I love them to death, but things have not always been good. Since I started dating Nicole, I saw her relationship with her parents, and she encouraged me to spend more time with mine. So it has improved within the last few years because I see them frequently and keep them updated with my life. I am the last male with my last name. My fiancé is the last childbearing age person with her last name. We aren't planning on kids right now, but it's the fact that we are both the last to possibly pass the name along. I decided, because I felt it was important that we share the last name, that I would take her last name. She and her family were surprised and honored and told me they would support my decisions no matter what. My parents found out that I was changing my last name in an inopportune way prior to me sitting them down to talk about it. It did not go over well, and my dad refused to speak to me for a week. My mom would send incoherent texts begging and pleading me to not change my last name, saying things like, "In our culture, men keep their last names. You can't just change your last name." And that it was disrespectful, and I had forsaken my family, and I was destroying the family by changing my last name. She also said that her future grandkids deserved the name, my German last name. This is just so wrong. Please, please, please don't do it. There are many vitriolic, sexist, and unhinged texts, but those are just a few examples of things she said. My dad and her refused to understand that I am a grown adult, and they are now essentially disowning me and uninviting me from any family events in the future, like my sister's graduation party or a family trip that is already planned and paid for. For context, I am a white American man, so the culture she's referring to is white American culture, I think. So, am I the asshole for taking my fiancé's last name? Edited to add, her last name is 14 letters and my current one is 8 letters, so hyphenating is not an option. Now, I have to say, I personally love hyphenated last names, especially when they're clearly from 2 very different cultures or languages. I just think they sound so fun. Also, it gives you a chance to give yourself fun initials. But Opie is definitely not an asshole for wanting to take his fiancé's name. My only issue with changing your name when you get married is all of the paperwork. Imagine having to change your name on all official documents, your driver's license, your college degree even perhaps, everywhere you work, your bank papers. Oh, it's just so much work. The comments all agree that OP is not the asshole. JNF919 hits the nail on the head by saying, not the asshole. At the end of the day, it's your decision, not your family's. I can understand some mild dismay about your family's name effectively being cut off, as it's important for your family for the same reason it's important for your fiancé, but the way they're reacting is downright childish. A name matters, but not nearly as much as the time you spend with your family. They care so deeply about their grandkid's name, but in disinviting you from family events, they seemingly don't care about seeing their actual grandkids. Honestly, their reaction might validate your decision even further to split from the family name if this is what the family name stands for. What do you guys think? Are you someone who's very attached to their name? Would you change your name if you got married? Let me know. This next story is from user StunningAxolotl577 who says, am I the asshole for being petty when my cousin kicked me off her Hulu account? I, female 23, am currently in college. I live with roommates and I don't have a lot of money at the moment. I can afford necessities, but I need to count my pennies before engaging in any luxuries. I have a cousin Jean, female 27, who I'm fairly close with. I don't have any siblings and I think of her as the sister I never had. Last year I was in a much better financial position. It eventually went downhill due to me being unexpectedly laid off from my job with a bunch of surprise expenses, hence why I'm not doing so great now. Last year, Jean was in a tough spot as she had car problems and had to move back in with her parents after getting evicted from her apartment. She was working a minimum wage job and was really struggling. I paid the mechanic bill for her car, which was around $300, and I loaned Jean an additional $900 to help her with her expenses. I know the whole deal about loaning family members money and wasn't too worried about whether or not she'd ever pay me back. Jean paid me back $400 5 months later and told me she'd pay me back the rest when she could, but she never did. Once again, I didn't mind. I know she needed the money. I'd feel absolutely evil if I watched her be unable to afford necessities when I could have helped. But here's where I might be an asshole. A couple months ago, Jean started a Hulu account that she pays for. She gave me the login and told me I could use it. Last week, I noticed I couldn't log into the account and texted Jean to ask about it. She read the text but didn't respond for a few hours, so I called her. Her boyfriend picked up and he told me that they changed the password and explained that he doesn't think it's reasonable that I get to use their Hulu without paying for it. He said if I want to share the account again, I should contribute to cover the cost of upgrading the subscription to unlimited devices. I told him that's fine, but no thanks. I'd rather not then. I'll get my streaming fix elsewhere. I might have come off as abrupt or blunt, I guess, because Jean later called me and accused me of being condescending and disrespectful to her boyfriend. I apologized and told her I didn't mean to come off that way and repeated our conversation to her. Jean said she was sorry, but they can't let me freeload. I laughed and told Jean that she can't possibly be calling me a freeloader. She said I am if I'm going to use her for a subscription. I told her I thought we had a relationship where we helped each other out and brought up the money I loaned her, which she hadn't even paid back fully. Jean called me petty and said that doesn't make me entitled to use her account. I told her I don't even flipping care about the Hulu account. She said I'm materialistic for keeping score and told me to leave her alone and hung up the phone. My aunt and parents are now saying I'm petty and telling me to apologize to Jean as I'm not treating her like a good family member. Am I the asshole? TravelCat67 comments, not the asshole. Jean has some nerve. Letting you use the Hulu is the least she could do. This is her boyfriend and I bet she didn't tell him how much she owes you. They said pay or no Hulu, and you said fine, no Hulu. You did nothing wrong. These people are nuts. All of the comments do agree that OP is not the asshole. I have to say it's a little concerning how the boyfriend seems to be dictating who can use Jean's Hulu account, and he kinda gives me controlling vibes. However, it's possible that he's just entitled and rude like Jean is. What do you guys think? What are your opinions? Lastly, our final story comes from a deleted user who asks, am I the asshole for insisting that I be there when my sister gives birth when my wife doesn't like it? Throwaway account. I, 40 male, have a younger sister, Beth, 28 female, who's due to give birth in a couple weeks in another state. Unfortunately, her jerk of a husband is divorcing her, and our mom is caring for her dad after he had his second heart-related surgery. Beth was crying to me one night on the phone about how alone she feels after her best friend had to back out of being in the delivery room due to a family emergency, and her sister couldn't get the time off of work from her job overseas. Beth said that her doctor had told her that they might have to do a C-section and she was panicking. I let her cry about it for nearly an hour, and then Big Brother mode kicked in, and I offered to fly out and support her. It was something I did without any real thought, but I meant it because this was my baby sister and she was going through a tough time and told me she was scared. I have the type of job where I can get permission to work from home, and since I'm well liked and respected in my office, my boss was willing to let me do this, provided that my work performance isn't impacted. My sister sounded so relieved when I told her the good news, and everyone in the family was giving me the proverbial pat on the back. The only one who wasn't happy was my wife Kim, 37 female, who told me that I needed to stay here for the kids and that Beth can either find someone else or do it alone. My kids Cody, 13 male, Chelsea, 10 female, and Connor, 7 male, all know that their aunt is going through a tough time and needs help, and said that they were fine with me leaving for a while. Kim insisted that the kids were lying and didn't want me to go. I said that even if that was true, I was still going because Beth needed me and I would make it up to the kids later. This caused a fight between us, and in the heat of the moment, Kim admitted that she didn't want me to go because she thought it was weird for an uncle to be present at the birth. This brought up old wounds for me since I was denied access to the birthing room for all 3 of my children, as Kim only wanted her mom and sister there. In truth, Beth's baby will be the first and possibly only time I'll ever get to see a baby be born live, and Kim doesn't like it. I snapped back with the aforementioned births of my children and said that if Kim didn't want me to go so bad, then she can call Beth, my parents and my sister, and explain it to all of them, because there was no way I was going to break Beth's heart when she needed family most. Kim is now saying that I'm the asshole. Am I? Edit to add, here's some additional information since people are starting to ask. 1. I don't know all the details yet, but Beth told me that a C-section is a strong possibility. 2. I believe that the average recovery rate for a C-section is about a month, so I'm prepared to stay that long to help my sister out, but hopefully my mom or other sister can take over 2 weeks post-birth. 3. As previously stated, I got permission to work remotely and I have a lot of PTO saved up, so there will be no loss of money. 4. My flight is 2 weeks from now. I paid for the ticket out of my own personal checking account. 5. Beth's soon-to-be ex convinced her to move to the opposite side of the coast so she doesn't have anyone she's close to that can help her out. 6. All of my children are over the age of 5 and don't have any special needs. 7. No, Beth's soon-to-be ex will not offer any type of support that isn't court-mandated, because 6 months into the pregnancy he decided he was child-free and is angry that Beth wouldn't agree to adoption. Edit 2. Beth does want to move back, and we, my parents' older sister and me, are going to help her after she healed up enough from the birth. Edit 3. I completely understand the let's compromise approach, but my wife doesn't want me going at all, and there is no way she'd agree to letting Betty and the baby stay with us until she's healed up, even if we had a spare room. Also, yes, the plan is to help Betty move back to our side of the country after she's given birth. Doctor doesn't recommend she travel right now, plus she wants to use the same doctor that's been following along with her during her pregnancy. Crimson Knight 004 says exactly what I was thinking. Not the asshole. Giving birth is one of the most vulnerable and painful experiences someone can be in. She will need someone there to advocate in the need that she's unable to advocate for herself. Absolutely good on you for stepping up. It's strange that your wife's hang-up seems to be an uncle being present at the delivery room, when she had no problem with having a grandma and an aunt in her delivery room, while not letting you be present for the births of your own children. She has no legitimate reasons, and it honestly sounds like she has some issues that are her responsibility to work out. OK Macron 6211 points out, everyone sucks here. Not for being there for the birth, I think that's lovely to support your sister. But leaving your wife with 3 children for the minimum of 2 weeks, most likely a month, without her agreement is unreasonable. Putting the pressure on your 13-year-old in your absence is unacceptable. He's a child, and those children are your responsibility, not his. Whilst your wife's reasons for not being with your sister at the birth are so very strange and frankly unhealthy, you are literally dumping all parental and household responsibility on your wife for an extended period of time. This is going to impact your marriage and your children if you don't rethink your approach. You've gotten the children's approval to leave, but not your wife's approval to be the sole parent for a month. That's so wrong. What do you guys think? I do think that leaving his wife on her own without even consulting or really listening to her is not great. Opie being there for his sister, especially after being denied seeing the birth of his own children, though, is so wonderful. I think Opie might suck a tiny little bit, but not really as much as his wife. She sounds like she has some problems that she needs to work through. I would maybe give this a gentle everyone sucks here. It sounds like they have a lot more to talk about. Thanks for watching, everyone. I'd really appreciate it if you could like and subscribe maybe. If there are any stories you'd like to hear, or if you like it if I included more comments or updates in these Reddit videos, then let me know. If you'd be interested in seeing any other style of video, including cooking or gameplay or whatever, just drop a comment and I'll be sure to respond. I'll see you all next time. Bye bye, friends!